The library was Jaiwan's sanctuary. Between the towering shelves of worn paperbacks and the musty scent of old pages, Lee Jaiwan felt safe. Safe from the world outside that would devour him whole if they knew what he truly was. His fingers trembled slightly as he placed another book on the return cart, the small white pill bottle in his pocket pressing against his hip like a reminder. 21 pills left. 3 weeks. You'll be fine. Excuse me? A gentle voice interrupted his thoughts. Jaiwan looked up to find an elderly woman smiling at him. Could you help me find the romance section, dear? Of course. Jaiwan's voice came out soft, almost melodic, a trait he'd learned to hate about himself. Everything about him screamed Omega, from his smaller frame to his delicate features to the way Alpha's eyes would linger just a second too long before he'd duck his head and disappear. Male Omegas were rare, coveted, vulnerable. So Jaiwan had learned to become invisible. After helping the woman, Jaiwan glanced at the clock. 2:47 p.m. His shift ended at 6, then he'd go home to his tiny studio apartment, take his suppressant, eat instant ramen and repeat tomorrow. It was a small life but it was his. The library doors opened with a soft chime. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Jaiwan felt it before he saw anything, a pressure in the air, heavy and suffocating like the moment before lightning strikes. Every person in the library looked up simultaneously, their bodies going rigid. Someone dropped a book. The sound echoed like a gunshot. And then Jaiwan saw him. Kang Miho. Even Jaiwan, who avoided the news and stayed away from anything related to the corporate world, knew that name. Everyone did. The youngest CEO in Korea's history. The alpha who'd built an empire in 5 years through ruthless business tactics and an aura so oppressive that grown men reportedly wept in his presence. He was tall, impossibly tall, dressed in a black suit that probably cost more than Jaiwan's entire yearly salary. His face was sharp, beautiful in a dangerous way like a blade. Dark hair swept back perfectly. But it was his eyes that made Jaiwan's breath catch. They were cold, empty, predatory. Miho walked through the library like a king surveying his kingdom, and people literally moved out of his way, pressing themselves against bookshelves. The air around him seemed to shimmer with barely contained power. What is someone like him doing here? Jaiwan quickly looked down, pretending to organize books. Rule number 1 of being a hidden Omega. Never make eye contact with dangerous alphas. His heart hammered in his chest as he heard those footsteps getting closer. Closer. Please walk past. Please walk past. Please. Excuse me. The voice was deep, commanding, but not as harsh as Jaiwan expected. He looked up slowly, keeping his head slightly bowed. Miho stood directly in front of his desk, towering over him. Up close, he was even more intimidating. The alpha's scent hit Jaiwan suddenly, cedarwood and something darker, something that made Jaiwan's suppressant dulled instincts stir uncomfortably. Why yes. Jaiwan's voice came out barely above a whisper. How can I help you? For a long moment, Miho just stared at him. Those dark eyes roamed over Jaiwan's face with an intensity that made him want to hide. Then, something flickered in that cold gaze. Surprise? Confusion? I'm looking for books on traditional Korean architecture, Miho said. Jaiwan blinked. Of all the things he'd expected. Oh, that would be in the reference section. I can show you. Just tell me where. 3rd floor. Section 720.9519. Jaiwan rattled off the Dewey Decimal number automatically, years of library work making it second nature. Another long stare. Then Miho nodded once and walked away. The moment he disappeared up the stairs, the entire library released a collective breath. Jaiwan's co-worker, Kim Sun-hee, rushed over. Oh my god, did Kang Miho just talk to you? She whispered frantically. Do you know who that is? He once fired an entire department because someone was 3 minutes late to a meeting. 3 minutes. I've heard the stories, Jaiwan murmured, his hand still shaking slightly. He reached for his water bottle, trying to calm his racing heart. The rest of his shift passed uneventfully. Miho never came back down, and eventually Jaiwan assumed he must have left through another exit. It wasn't until Jaiwan was locking up the library at 6:15 p.m. that his phone buzzed. Yuna? Coffee tomorrow? I need to vent about my date disaster, loudly crying face. Jaiwan, sure. Usual place at 10? Yuna, perfect. Love you 2 hearts. Jaiwan smiled softly. Choi Yuna was his only real friend. A beta woman with a huge heart who'd befriended him in college and never asked questions about why he was so secretive. She just accepted him. The next morning, Jaiwan woke up feeling slightly off. His skin was more sensitive than usual and he felt warm. He frowned, pressing a hand to his forehead. No fever. Probably just tired. After showering and dressing in his usual oversized sweater and jeans, anything to hide his frame, Jaiwan took his morning suppressant and headed to the cafe. Sweet Brew was a tiny coffee shop tucked between two larger buildings, the kind of place that tourists never found. Jaiwan loved it for that reason. He arrived first, ordering his usual iced Americano, and settled into a corner booth with a book. He was so absorbed in reading that he didn't notice someone approaching until a shadow fell across his table. Is this seat taken? Jaiwan looked up, ready to politely say yes, and froze. Kang Miho stood there, holding a cup of black coffee, looking at him with those intense dark eyes. What? Jaiwan's brain short-circuited. I'm waiting for someone. I see. But Miho didn't move. You work at the library. Yesterday. It wasn't a question. Why yes. What's your name? Every instinct screamed at Jaiwan to lie, to run, to do anything but engage with this dangerous alpha. But his mouth betrayed him. Lee Jaiwan. Jaiwan, Miho repeated, and something about the way he said it made Jaiwan's stomach flip. I know who you are, Jaiwan interrupted, then immediately regretted it when Miho's eyebrow raised slightly. Do you? It wasn't a question this time either. An awkward silence stretched between them. Jaiwan clutched his book like a lifeline, waiting for Miho to leave, to say something cutting, to do literally anything except stand there staring at him. Your friend is here, Miho said suddenly, nodding toward the entrance. Jaiwan turned to see Yuna walking in, her eyes going wide when she spotted Miho. She looked between them with barely concealed shock. Enjoy your coffee, Jaiwan SSI. Miho's voice had gone soft, almost gentle, before he turned and walked to a table on the opposite side of the cafe. Yuna practically dove into the booth. Why is Kang Miho here? And why was he talking to you? And why did he say your name like that? Like what? I don't know. Like it meant something. Yuna's eyes were huge. Jaiwan, he's dangerous. Everyone says. I know what everyone says. Jaiwan took a sip of his coffee to hide his confusion. He was just asking if the seat was taken. That's all. But it wasn't all. For the next hour, as Jaiwan listened to Yuna's dating disaster story, he could feel eyes on him. Every time he glanced over, Miho was reading a newspaper, drinking his coffee, looking perfectly normal. But the moment Jaiwan looked away, he could feel that gaze returning. It should have been terrifying. It should have sent him running. But instead, there was something else. Something that made his suppressant dulled Omega instincts stir with curiosity rather than fear. When Yuna finally left and Jaiwan gathered his things, he couldn't help but glance at Miho's table one last time. The alpha was looking directly at him. Their eyes met. And Miho smiled. It was small, barely there, but it transformed his entire face. The cold, ruthless CO disappeared, and for just a moment he looked human. Warm even. Jaiwan's breath caught. He quickly looked away and hurried out of the cafe, his heart pounding for reasons he didn't want to examine. The following Monday, Jaiwan returned to work still thinking about that smile. Get it together. He's an alpha. A dangerous one. You're an Omega in hiding. This is literally the worst possible scenario. He was shelving returns in the mystery section when he heard that familiar drop in temperature, felt that pressure in the air. Miho was back. Jaiwan peeked around the shelf and watched as the alpha walked straight to the main desk where Sunhee was working. They exchanged words. Sunhee looked terrified, and then Miho was walking in Jaiwan's direction. Shit. Jaiwan quickly grabbed a random book and pretended to be deeply interested in its back cover. Jaiwan SSI. He jumped, nearly dropping the book. Miho stood at the end of the aisle, hands in his pockets, looking significantly less intimidating than he had in the cafe. The oppressive aura was muted somehow. Mr. Kong, Jaiwan managed. Can I help you find something? Yes, actually. Miho walked closer, and Jaiwan instinctively backed up until his spine hit the shelf. I need a recommendation. A recommendation? For a book. Something good. What do you suggest? Jaiwan blinked. What do you like to read? I don't know. I don't read for pleasure. Miho tilted his head slightly, studying Jaiwan like he was a puzzle. What do you like? This was surreal. Kang Miho, the terrifying alpha CEO, was asking him about books? I like fantasy. And romance. Jaiwan's cheeks heated. But those might not be your. I'll take both. Miho's lips quirked up slightly. Whatever you recommend. Jaiwan stared at him for a long moment, trying to understand what was happening. Then, hesitantly, he led Miho through the library, pulling titles he genuinely loved. Epic fantasy series. A sweet contemporary romance. A sci-fi thriller. These are all good, Jaiwan said softly, handing them over. But you really don't have to. I want to. Miho took the books, his fingers briefly brushing against Jaiwan's. The touch sent electricity up Jaiwan's arm. Both of them froze. Miho's eyes widened slightly, and for a moment, something raw and hungry flashed across his face. Then it was gone, replaced by careful neutrality. "Thank you, Jaiwan SSI," he said quietly. "I'll let you know what I think." And then he was gone. Sun-hee appeared immediately. "What was that? He's never been here before and now twice in 1 week? And he was smiling at you." "Jaiwan, Kang Miho doesn't smile." "He was just being polite," Jaiwan mumbled, but his hand still tingled where Miho had touched it. Miho came back the next day. And the day after that. Each time he found Jaiwan, asked about books, stayed for exactly 20 minutes and left. Each time, the terrifying aura that made others cower was completely absent around Jaiwan. Each time he spoke softly, almost gently. By Friday, Jaiwan's co-workers were whispering constantly. The library director had even pulled him aside to nervously ask if everything was all right with Mr. Kang's visits. "He just likes books," Jaiwan had said, which sounded ridiculous even to his own ears. But the strangest part was that Jaiwan found himself looking forward to those visits. Miho was different when they talked. Intelligent, curious, surprisingly funny in a dry way. He listened when Jaiwan rambled about his favorite authors. He remembered details from previous conversations. And he never, ever made Jaiwan feel threatened. Which was insane because this was literally the most dangerous alpha in Seoul. On Saturday, Jaiwan had the day off. He was at home, cleaning his apartment, when he decided to check his suppressant supply. His blood ran cold. The bottle was nearly empty. He counted quickly. 21 pills. 3 weeks. Oh, that couldn't be right. He just refilled. Wait, when had he refilled last? Panic rising, Jaiwan grabbed his phone and pulled up his pharmacy app. His prescription showed as discontinued. Discontinued? His fingers trembled as he called the pharmacy. "I'm sorry, Mr. Lee," the pharmacist said sympathetically. "That particular suppressant was pulled from the market 2 weeks ago. Safety concerns. We sent an email notification." An email Jaiwan had missed because he never checked that account. "What am I supposed to do?" His voice came out high, frightened. "There are alternatives, but they require a new prescription from your doctor. The earliest appointment we have is in 4 weeks. Jaiwan hung up. 4 weeks. He had 3 weeks of pills. Which meant 1 week, 7 days, of being completely unsuppressed. Of his omega scent being exposed. Of going into heat in a world that would tear him apart. His phone slipped from his numb fingers. He was going to be discovered. Monday morning, Jaiwan went to work in a daze. He'd spent the entire weekend trying to find alternatives. Other doctors, other pharmacies, anything. But everywhere was the same. 4-week wait minimum for new prescriptions. He had 20 pills left now. His hands shook as he scanned returned books. Jaiwan SSI. He looked up to find Park Seo-jun, Miho's assistant, standing at the desk. The beta man looked professional in his gray suit, though much less intimidating than his boss. "Why yes. Mr. Kang would like to invite you to lunch," Seo-jun said formally. "If you're available." Jaiwan's brain stuttered. "Lunch? With Mr. Kang?" "Yes. He's waiting outside." I can't. I'm working." "He's already cleared it with your director." Seo-jun smiled slightly. "Please." He's been very insistent. Which is how Jaiwan found himself sitting across from Kang Miho in a private room at an expensive restaurant, feeling completely out of place in his library cardigan and jeans. "You didn't have to do this," Jaiwan said quietly, staring at the menu where every dish cost more than his daily wage. "I wanted to." Miho set down his own menu. "You look tired. Are you all right?" The concern in his voice was so genuine that Jaiwan felt tears prick his eyes. He couldn't remember the last time someone had asked if he was all right. "I'm fine," he lied. Miho's eyes narrowed slightly. "You're a terrible liar." "I'm fine," Jaiwan repeated, more firmly this time. They ate in comfortable silence for a while. Jaiwan had to admit the food was incredible. And Miho was surprisingly easy to be around. He didn't push, didn't demand. Just existed in a way that made Jaiwan feel safe. Which was ridiculous because Miho was the least safe person in Seoul. "I finished the fantasy series you recommended," Miho said suddenly. "You were right. It was good." Despite everything, Jaiwan smiled. "Really? Really? Though I have questions about the ending." They spent the next hour discussing books, and Jaiwan forgot about his suppressant problem. Forgot about being in Omega and hiding. Forgot about everything except the way Miho's eyes crinkled when he almost smiled, the way he listened like Jaiwan's words were the most important thing in the world. When Seo-jun came to escort Jaiwan back to the library, Miho walked them to the car. "Jaiwan SSI," he said quietly, stopping Jaiwan with a gentle hand on his arm. "If you ever need anything at all, call me." He pressed a business card into Jaiwan's hand. Why? Jaiwan looked up at him, genuinely confused. Why are you being so nice to me? Miho's expression softened into something that made Jaiwan's heart stutter. Because you're the first person in 5 years who's looked at me and not seen a monster, he said simply. You just see me. Before Jaiwan could respond, Miho was walking away, his assistant hurrying after him. Jaiwan stood there, clutching the business card, his mind reeling. That night, lying in bed, Jaiwan pulled out the card. Simple. Elegant. Just Miho's name and a phone number embossed in gold. 19 pills left. He should be panicking. Planning. Figuring out what to do. Instead, he found himself thinking about cedarwood and almost smiles and the way Miho had said, "You just see me," like it was the most precious gift in the world. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. This is Miho. I forgot to ask, what should I read next? Jaiwan stared at the message for a long moment. Then, smiling despite himself, he began to type. Jaiwan, how do you feel about romance novels? Miho, if you recommend it, I'll read it. Something warm bloomed in Jaiwan's chest. Jaiwan, even if it's about an alpha and an omega? There was a longer pause this time. Miho, especially then. Jaiwan's breath caught. His fingers hovered over the keyboard. 18 pills left. He should be more careful. Should keep his distance from this dangerous alpha who was showing him kindness that felt too good to be real. But as he drifted off to sleep, Miho's business card clutched in his hand, Jaiwan let himself imagine, just for a moment, what it might be like to be seen not as an omega to be hunted, but as just Jaiwan, the person Miho seemed to already see. 2 weeks had passed since that lunch, and Jaiwan's life had become something he didn't quite recognize. Miho texted him every day now. Sometimes about books. He'd finished 3 romance novels and had surprisingly thoughtful opinions about each one. Sometimes about nothing at all. Good morning. Did you eat lunch? There's a new bakery near the library, you should try their cream bread. And he came to the library every single day. Like clockwork, at 3 p.m. Kang Miho would walk through those doors, and the entire atmosphere would shift. People would scatter. Whispers would follow. But the moment he reached wherever Jaiwan was, shelving books, working the desk, organizing the storage room, that terrifying aura would simply vanish. You're going to get me fired, Jaiwan had joked last Tuesday, when Miho had spent 45 minutes sitting in the reading corner just watching him work. I'll buy the library, Miho had replied, completely serious. Then I'll hire you as the director. Jaiwan had laughed, thinking it was a joke. The next day, his director had nervously mentioned that someone had made a substantial donation to keep the library running for the next 10 years. Jaiwan had stopped laughing. Now, standing in his tiny bathroom on a Wednesday morning, Jaiwan stared at the pill bottle in his hand with growing dread. 7 pills left. 1 week. His hands trembled as he took his suppressant, swallowing it dry. His reflection in the mirror looked pale, dark circles under his eyes from nights spent panicking about what would happen when these ran out. He tried everything. Called every doctor in Seoul. Begged his old physician to squeeze him in. Nothing. The new suppressants required extensive blood work and a full physical exam before prescription, and the earliest anyone could see him was 3 weeks away. 3 weeks he didn't have. His phone buzzed. Miho, good morning. I'll see you at 3? Jaiwan's chest tightened. He should cancel. Should distance himself before disaster struck. Should. Jaiwan, I'll be in the archive room today. Sorting donations. Miho, I'll find you. And he would. Miho always found him. At work, Jaiwan tried to focus on the mountain of donated books that needed cataloging. The archive room was in the library's basement, quiet and isolated, perfect for avoiding people while he spiraled internally about his impending doom. There you are. Jaiwan jumped, nearly dropping the book in his hands. Miho stood in the doorway, looking unfairly handsome in a charcoal suit, his tie slightly loosened. You're early, Jaiwan managed, glancing at his watch. 2:30 p.m. I had a meeting nearby. Finished early. Miho walked into the small room and suddenly it felt even smaller. Need help? You want to catalog donations? Jaiwan couldn't keep the disbelief from his voice. I want to spend time with you. Miho said it so simply, so matter-of-factly, that Jaiwan's heart did something complicated in his chest. The books are just an excuse. Before Jaiwan could respond, his phone rang. Unknown number. Sorry, I should, he answered quickly. Hello? Mr. Lee? This is Dr. Shin's office. I'm afraid we need to cancel your appointment next month. The doctor is taking an extended leave. What? Jaiwan's voice came out sharper than intended. No, you can't, I need. We can refer you to another physician, but the wait time. How long? 6 to 8 weeks. The phone slipped from Jaiwan's numb fingers. 8 weeks. He had 7 days. Jaiwan. Miho was suddenly there, catching the phone before it hit the ground, his hand steadying Jaiwon's elbow. What's wrong? Nothing. I'm fine. The lie came automatically, but his voice shook. Miho's eyes narrowed. You're not fine. You haven't been fine for weeks. His grip on Jaiwon's arm tightened slightly. Talk to me. I can't. Jaiwon pulled away, wrapping his arms around himself. It's not your problem. Anything that upsets you is my problem. The possessiveness in Miho's tone should have scared him. Instead, it made Jaiwon want to cry. Want to collapse into those strong arms and let someone else carry the weight for once. But he couldn't. Because telling Miho meant revealing what he was. And revealing what he was meant losing everything. The library, his safety, maybe even his freedom if the wrong people found out. I need to get back to work, Jaiwon said quietly, not meeting Miho's eyes. For a long moment, Miho didn't move. Then slowly he nodded. All right. But I'm staying. And he did. For the next 3 hours, Miho sat on the floor of the archive room, sorting books with surprising efficiency, occasionally asking questions that made Jaiwon smile despite his anxiety. When closing time came, Miho walked Jaiwon to the subway station like he'd started doing every evening. Jaiwon-san, Miho said as they reached the entrance. I need to tell you something. Jaiwon looked up at him, heart suddenly racing. There's a gala this Saturday. For the Seoul Arts Foundation. Miho's jaw tightened slightly. I'm required to attend. And I'd like you to come with me. Me? Jaiwon's voice came out as a squeak. Why? Because I don't want to go without you. Miho stepped closer, and Jaiwon could smell his scent, cedarwood and something uniquely Miho that made his suppressant dulled instincts stir. Because the thought of spending an entire evening surrounded by people who only see me as something to fear or use makes me want to burn the building down. But if you were there... He trailed off, looking almost vulnerable. Please. Jaiwon should say no. Should keep his distance. Should... Okay, he whispered. Miho's entire face transformed with that rare, beautiful smile. I'll send Seo-jun with details. He reached out, hesitating for just a moment before his fingers brushed Jaiwon's cheek. Thank you. Then he was gone, leaving Jaiwon standing at the subway entrance with his skin tingling where Miho had touched him. You said what? Yuna practically shrieked through the phone that night. Jaiwon winced, pulling the device away from his ear. I said yes. To a gala. With Kang Miho. Yuna's voice was several octaves higher than normal. Jaiwon, do you understand what this means? People are going to think you're dating. There will be photos. Press. This is, oh my god, we need to go shopping. Yuna? No arguments. Tomorrow after work. You are not showing up to a gala with Korea's most eligible alpha in your library cardigan. Pause. Wait. Are you dating? Jaiwon's face burned. No. We're just friends. Friends? Yuna repeated, clearly unconvinced. Friends who text every day and have lunch together and go to fancy galas together. He's been nice to me. That's all. Jaiwon. Yuna's voice softened. I've seen the way you talk about him. And I've seen the photos online of him at the library. He looks at you like you hung the moon. This isn't just nice. After they hung up, Jaiwon lay in bed staring at the ceiling. 6 pills left. The gala was in 3 days. His suppressants would run out in 6. Which meant he had 3 days after the gala before his omega scent started leaking. Before his body betrayed him. Maybe it'll be fine. Maybe I'll get lucky and... His phone buzzed. Miho, can't sleep. Reading the book you recommended. The main character reminds me of you. Jaiwon, the anxious librarian who talks to plants? Miho, the brave person who survived alone and learned to trust again. Jaiwon's throat tightened. Jaiwon, I'm not brave. Miho, you're the bravest person I know. Jaiwon, you barely know me. Miho, then let me know you better. Starting Saturday. Jaiwon stared at that message for a long time before typing. Jaiwon, okay. Jaiwon, Miho? Miho, yes? Jaiwon, why me? The reply came faster than expected. Miho, because when everyone else looks at me and sees a monster, you look at me and smile. Because you're not afraid. Because when I'm near you, I don't want to destroy everything. I just want to be. Jaiwon pressed the phone to his chest, something warm and terrifying blooming in his heart. The next 3 days passed in a blur. Yuna dragged him shopping, and Jaiwon found himself in an elegant deep blue suit that cost more than 2 months' rent. Miho's treat, Seo-jun had said when he appeared at the store to pay, ignoring Jaiwon's protests. Work was chaos. Somehow, word had spread that Jaiwon was attending the gala with Miho, and his co-workers treated him like he was either incredibly lucky or completely insane. Do you know how many people have tried to get Kang Miho's attention? Son, he had whispered. Models, actors, heirs to fortunes. And he chose you. He didn't choose me, Jaiwan wanted to say. We're just friends. But even he was starting to doubt that. Miho's texts had become more frequent, more personal. What's your favorite color? Blue like your eyes. What's your dream? A bookstore of my own someday. You could go anywhere, where? Jeju Island. I've never seen the ocean. And then, after the gala, I'll take you to Jeju. We can go whenever you want. Friday evening, Jaiwan stood in his bathroom with the pill bottle. 4 pills left. 4 days until his scent started leaking. Tomorrow was the gala. His phone rang. Miho's name flashed on the screen. Hello. Are you nervous? Miho's voice was soft, concerned. About tomorrow? A little, Jaiwan admitted. Me too. That surprised him. You run a company. You've probably been to hundreds of these. Yes. But I've never brought someone who matters before. Pause. You mattered, Jaiwan. Jaiwan's breath caught. Miho, I'll pick you up at 7. Where the blue suit Seojun got you. You'll be beautiful. Another pause. You're always beautiful. But tomorrow I want everyone to see what I see. After he hung up, Jaiwan sank to the bathroom floor, the pill bottle clutched in his shaking hand. What am I doing? But he already knew. He was falling for Kang Miho. The most dangerous alpha in Seoul. The one person who could destroy him completely. And somehow, that terrified him less than the thought of losing whatever this was between them. Saturday arrived too quickly. Jaiwan spent the morning in a state of controlled panic. He took his suppressant, 3 pills left, showered and tried to calm his racing heart. At 6:45, his doorbell rang. Seojun stood there with a garment bag. Mr. Kang wanted me to make sure everything was perfect, he said with a slight smile. The car will be here in 15 minutes. Inside the bag was the blue suit, professionally pressed, along with shoes that definitely hadn't been there when Yuna had taken him shopping. Miho, Seojun said, you look nervous. Don't be. I'll be with you the entire time. Jaiwan, I've never been to anything like this. Miho, neither have I. Not really. I've been to 100 galas. But I've never been to one. Always felt like I was playing a role. Tonight will be different. Jaiwan, how? Miho, because you'll be there. At 7 p.m. exactly, Jaiwan stepped outside his apartment building. A sleek black car waited at the curb. The driver opened the back door and Jaiwan's breath caught. Miho sat inside, wearing a black suit that looked like sin and sophistication had a baby. His hair was styled back, his sharp features highlighted by the car's interior lighting. But it was his expression when he saw Jaiwan that made the world stop. Pure, undisguised want. Jaiwan, Miho breathed. Is it too much? Seojun said. You're perfect. Miho's voice was rough. Come here. Jaiwan slid into the car, hyper-aware of how close they were in the enclosed space. Miho's scent wrapped around him, stronger than usual, making his suppressant-dulled instincts flutter to life. I have something for you. Miho pulled out a small box. Inside was a simple silver bracelet, elegant and understated. It's a scent blocker, Miho said quietly. I noticed, you're always so careful. So nervous in crowds. I thought this might help you feel more comfortable tonight. Jaiwan stared at the bracelet, his heart hammering. Scent blockers were expensive. Really expensive. And they were usually only used by... Does he know? I don't understand, Jaiwan whispered. Why would I need? Because I notice things about you. Miho took the bracelet out, his fingers gentle as he fastened it around Jaiwan's wrist. I notice that you take pills every morning. That you avoid crowds. That you wear oversized clothes even though your frame is perfect. That you flinch when alphas get too close. His thumb brushed over Jaiwan's pulse point. I don't know why you're hiding, but I want you to feel safe. Always. Tears pricked Jaiwan's eyes. You don't have to. I know I don't have to. Miho lifted Jaiwan's hand to his lips, pressing a soft kiss to his knuckles. I want to. There's a difference. The drive to the gala venue was quiet, but not uncomfortable. Miho kept hold of Jaiwan's hand, his thumb drawing gentle circles on Jaiwan's palm. When they pulled up to the Grand Hotel, photographers were already swarming. Ready? Miho asked. No, Jaiwan admitted. Good. Neither am I. Miho squeezed his hand. Stay close to me. I'll handle everything else. The moment they stepped out of the car, camera flashes exploded like stars. Mr. Kang. Mr. Kang. Who's your date? Are you in a relationship? What's his name? Miho's hand moved to the small of Jaiwan's back, possessive and protective. The oppressive alpha aura that he usually kept suppressed around Jaiwan suddenly blazed to life, and the photographer stumbled back. His name is Lee Jaiwan, Miho said coldly. And if any of you publish a single photo without his consent, I'll sue you into oblivion. Are we clear? Stunned silence. Then Miho was guiding Jaiwan inside, his hand never leaving Jaiwan's back. You didn't have to do that, Jaiwan murmured. Yes, I did. Miho's voice was still sharp. No one gets to make you uncomfortable. Not even for a photo. The ballroom was overwhelming. Crystal chandeliers. Elaborate flower arrangements. People in designer clothes that cost more than Jaiwan's car. And everywhere, alphas. Their scents mixing and clashing, making Jaiwan grateful for the bracelet Miho had given him. Miho. A smooth voice called out. A tall alpha approached, handsome in a practiced way, with styled blonde hair and a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Something about him made Jaiwan's instincts scream danger. Taehyun, Miho said flatly, his hand tightening on Jaiwan's back. I didn't think you'd actually come. Han Taehyun's eyes slid to Jaiwan, and something predatory flickered in them. And with such interesting company. This is Jaiwan. My date. The way Miho said, my, made it sound like a warning. Charming. Taehyun stepped closer and Jaiwan fought the urge to back away. Tell me, Jaiwan SSI, what do you do? I work at a library, Jaiwan said quietly. A library? How quaint. Taehyun's smile widened. You know, Miho and I go way back. Business school together. I could tell you stories. No one asked, Miho cut in, his voice dropping to something dangerous. The temperature seemed to plummet. Other guests nearby quickly moved away, sensing the tension between the two alphas. Taehyun laughed, but it sounded forced. Still so protective. Some things never change. His eyes lingered on Jaiwan one more time. Enjoy the evening. When he was gone, Jaiwan released a breath he hadn't known he was holding. Sorry about him, Miho muttered. Taehyun is, we have history. None of it good. He seemed interested in me. Jaiwan tried to make it sound casual. He's interested in anything that's mine. Miho's jaw clenched. Which is why we're staying away from him for the rest of the night. What? That word shouldn't make Jaiwan's heart race. Shouldn't make him feel warm and safe and wanted. But it did. The next hour was a blur of introductions. Business executives. Politicians. Socialites. Everyone wanted to talk to Miho, and everyone stared at Jaiwan with barely concealed curiosity. Through it all, Miho never let go of him. His hand stayed on Jaiwan's back, or holding his hand or resting on his shoulder. A constant, grounding presence. You're doing great, Miho murmured during a brief moment alone. I know this is overwhelming. Everyone's staring, Jaiwan whispered back. Let them. Miho's eyes were soft as they looked at him. Let them see what I see. Someone beautiful and brave who's making this horrible evening bearable. Jaiwan's face heated. You're ridiculous. I'm honest. Miho leaned closer. Dance with me? I can't dance. Neither can I. We'll figure it out together. On the ballroom floor, with Miho's arms around him and soft music playing, Jaiwan felt something shift. They moved slowly, barely more than swaying, and Miho held him like he was something precious. I meant what I said in the car, Miho said quietly. About noticing things. About wanting you to feel safe. Why? Jaiwan looked up at him. Why do you care so much? Jaiwan close. Miho was quiet for a long moment. Then, do you believe in fate? I don't know. I didn't either. Until I walked into that library and saw you. Miho's hand tightened on Jaiwan's waist. Everything in my life has been calculated. Planned. Controlled. And then there you were, looking at me like I was just a person. Not a monster. Not a tool. Just Miho. You are just Miho, Jaiwan said softly. With you, yes. Miho's eyes were intense. Only with you. The song ended, but neither of them moved. Miho. Excuse me. A sharp voice interrupted. They turned to find Taehyun standing there, a champagne glass in hand and a dangerous smile on his face. May I cut in? He asked, but he wasn't looking at Miho. He was looking at Jaiwan. No, Miho said flatly. Oh, come now. One dance won't hurt. Taehyun stepped closer and his scent, sharp, aggressive, made Jaiwan want to recoil. Unless you're afraid I'll steal him away? Miho's eyes flashed red. The entire ballroom went silent. Alpha dominance rolled off Miho in waves, suffocating and terrifying. People backed away. Some actually left. The air itself seemed to crackle with barely contained violence. Miho, Jaiwan said quickly, touching his arm. It's okay. I don't want to dance with him anyway. At Jaiwan's touch, Miho's aura immediately dampened. His eyes faded back to their normal dark color. He looked down at Jaiwan, something like wonder crossing his face. You're not afraid, he whispered. Of you? Never. Taehyun's smile had frozen. He stared at them both, something calculating in his expression. How interesting, he murmured. Very interesting indeed. He raised his glass in a mock toast. Enjoy your evening, Miho. Jaiwan SSI. When he walked away, Miho pulled Jaiwan close. We're leaving, he said roughly. Now. But the gala? I don't care. Miho was already guiding him toward the exit. I need to get you somewhere safe. Safe from what? From me losing control completely if Taehyun looks at you one more time. Outside, as they waited for the car, Jaiwan shivered in the cool night air. Immediately, Miho shrugged off his jacket and draped it around Jaiwan's shoulders. I'm sorry, Miho said quietly. I shouldn't have brought you here. I knew Taehyun would be there, but I thought. He ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. I just wanted one normal evening with you. It was normal, Jaiwan said. Well, mostly. Until the terrifying alpha dominance display. You really weren't afraid? No. Jaiwan smiled slightly. Should I have been? Most people would have run screaming. Miho looked at him with that same wonder. But you just touched my arm. And everything stopped. Stopped. The rage. The need to hurt him for looking at you that way. The second you touched me, all I could feel was... Miho trailed off, jaw clenching. What? Jaiwan whispered. You. All I could feel was you. The car arrived before Jaiwan could respond. During the drive back, Miho kept Jaiwan's hand in his, thumb tracing patterns on his palm. I'll walk you up, Miho said when they reached Jaiwan's apartment. You don't have to. I want to make sure you're safe. Safe. There was that word again. At Jaiwan's door, they stood in the narrow hallway, neither quite ready to say goodnight. Thank you, Jaiwan said softly. For tonight. For the bracelet. For everything. Jaiwan. Miho stepped closer. I need to tell you something. What? Miho stopped, seeming to struggle with words. I don't do this. I don't date. I don't bring people to galas. I don't spend every free moment thinking about someone. But with you. He cupped Jaiwan's face gently. With you, I want everything. Jaiwan's breath hitched. Miho. You don't have to say anything. I just needed you to know. Miho's thumb brushed across Jaiwan's cheekbone. Whatever you're hiding, whatever you're afraid of, I'll wait. I'll wait as long as you need. Then, slowly, giving Jaiwan every chance to pull away, Miho leaned down and pressed a soft kiss to his forehead. Good night, Jaiwan. And he was gone, leaving Jaiwan standing in his doorway, heart pounding, the scent of cedarwood still clinging to the jacket around his shoulders. Inside his apartment, Jaiwan sank onto his couch, mind reeling. With you, I want everything. He pulled out his phone, intending to text Yuna, and saw a news alert. Kang Miho's mystery date. Who is Lee Jaiwan? His blood ran cold. There were photos, him and Miho arriving, dancing, Miho's jacket around his shoulders. The comments were already flooding in. Who is this nobody? Gold digger vibes. Kang Miho could do so much better. But worse than the comments was the last photo. Taehyun staring at Jaiwan with an expression that made his skin crawl. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. Interesting evening, wasn't it, Jaiwan SSI? We should talk sometime. Jaiwan's hands shook. Another buzz. Miho, don't look at the news. Don't read the comments. You're perfect and they're idiots. Sleep well. The third buzz. Yuna, OMG. Call me right now. Jaiwan set his phone down and walked to his bathroom. He opened the medicine cabinet with trembling hands. 3 pills left. 3 days until his secret was exposed. 3 days until everything he built came crashing down. He took his pill, climbed into bed still wearing Miho's jacket, and tried not to think about how much it would hurt when Miho found out the truth. When he realized that the person he wanted everything with was an Omega. A male Omega. The rarest, most coveted, most dangerous thing to be in their world. His phone lit up one more time. Miho, I know you're probably overthinking. Stop. Whatever happens, I'm here. Always. Jaiwan closed his eyes, clutching the phone to his chest. Always. If only that could be true. Sunday morning, Jaiwan woke to his phone ringing. Seojin's name flashed on the screen. Hello. Jaiwan SSI. The beta's voice was tense. Mr. Kang needs to see you. Immediately. There's been a development. Jaiwan's stomach dropped. What kind of development? It's better if he explains in person. A car is already on its way to you. 20 minutes later, Jaiwan was ushered into Miho's penthouse, a sleek, modern space with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Seoul. Miho stood by those windows, his posture rigid, a tablet clutched in his hand. Miho, Jaiwan said hesitantly. Seojun said there was a development? Miho turned, and his expression was thunderous. Taehyun leaked your information to the media, he said, voice tight with barely controlled rage. Your full name. Your address. Where you work. He held up the tablet, showing a news article. He's claiming you're an Omega. The world tilted. Oh, no. I've already had my lawyers send cease and desist orders to every publication, Miho continued, crossing to Jaiwan. And I've arranged for security at your apartment and the library. No one will get near you. I promise. He said I'm an Omega? Jaiwan's voice came out strangled. It's obviously a lie. A vicious rumor to hurt you and, by extension, me. Miho's hands landed on Jaiwan's shoulders. But I need you to know, I don't care what lies he spreads. We'll fight this together. Jaiwan stared up at him, his mind blank with panic. Obviously a lie. Miho didn't know. Somehow, impossibly, Miho still didn't know. But Taehyun did. Taehyun had figured it out, and now he was using it as a weapon. Jaiwan. Miho's brow furrowed. Say something. You're scaring me. Jaiwan's throat closed up. I need to go. I need to. No. Miho's grip tightened. You're staying here where it's safe. I've already arranged everything. Clothes, food, anything you need. Just stay with me until this blows over. You don't understand? Then help me understand. Miho cupped his face. Talk to me. Please. Jaiwan wanted to. God, he wanted to. But the words wouldn't come. His phone buzzed in his pocket. With shaking hands he pulled it out. Unknown number. 2 pills left, aren't there, Jaiwan SSI? What will you do when they run out? When everyone knows what you are? Call me. Let's make a deal. The phone slipped from Jaiwan's fingers. Miho caught it, read the message, and his entire expression transformed into something terrifying. How does he know about your pills? Miho's voice was deadly quiet. I don't. Jaiwan. Miho set the phone down carefully like he was fighting for control. What pills is he talking about? The walls were closing in. Jaiwan couldn't breathe. I have to go, he gasped, pulling away from Miho. I'm sorry, I have to. Don't. Miho caught his wrist. Please don't run from me. You don't understand what you're asking. Then tell me. Miho's voice cracked. Whatever it is, we'll face it together. I promise you. You can't promise that. The words burst out of Jaiwan, raw and desperate. You can't promise to protect me from this? No one can. Silence. Miho stared at him, something dawning in his eyes. The pills, he said slowly. The oversized clothes. The way you avoid crowds. The scent blocker I gave you. His grip on Jaiwan's wrist loosened. Jaiwan. Are you? A loud crash interrupted them. They both spun toward the sound. The tablet on the coffee table was lighting up with notification after notification. Miho grabbed it and Jaiwan watched his face drain of color. What? Jaiwan whispered. What is it? Miho looked up at him, and for the first time since they'd met, Jaiwan saw something that terrified him in those dark eyes. Not anger. Not disgust. Fear. Taehyun just held a press conference, Miho said hoarsely. He's claiming that you're his fated Omega mate, and he's filed a formal bonding claim with the High Court. The room spun. A bonding claim. If the court accepted it, Jaiwan would legally belong to Han Taehyun, would be forced to bond with him, to submit to him. No, Jaiwan breathed. No, that's not. I'm not his, we're not. I know. Miho was suddenly there, hands on Jaiwan's shoulders, steadying him. I know you're not his. But Jaiwan, his jaw clenched. Is the other part true? Are you an Omega? Their eyes met. And Jaiwan realized he was out of options. Out of time. Out of lies. Yes, he whispered. Miho's eyes flashed red and his alpha scent exploded through the room, so strong that Jaiwan gasped, his suppressant dulled instincts roaring to life for the first time in years. You're mine, Miho growled, pulling Jaiwan against his chest. Not his. What? Do you understand? And despite everything, despite the fear and the panic and the knowledge that his life was crumbling around him, Jaiwan felt safe in those arms. Yours, he breathed. Outside the window, Seoul gleamed in the morning sun, unaware that everything was about to change. The world narrowed to just the two of them. Miho's arms were steel bands around Jaiwan, his alpha scent overwhelming in its intensity, cedarwood and something darker, something possessive that made every suppressant dulled instinct in Jaiwan's body suddenly roar to life. Say it again, Miho demanded, his voice rough. Tell me you're mine. I'm yours, Jaiwan whispered, and the words felt like coming home. For a long moment they just stood there, holding each other while the world outside prepared to tear them apart. Then Miho pulled back slightly, his hands coming up to cup Jaiwan's face. How long? His eyes searched Jaiwan's. How long have you been hiding? All my life. Jaiwan's voice cracked. Male Omegas we're rare. Vulnerable. I've spent 26 years pretending to be Beta because the alternative is... He couldn't finish. Being hunted, Miho finished quietly, anger flashing in his eyes. Being treated like property instead of a person. Yes. Miho's jaw clenched so hard Jaiwan heard his teeth grind. And Taehyun figured it out. At the gala. I don't know how, but Jaiwan's hands twisted in Miho's shirt. The scent blocker you gave me, it helped. But he must have noticed something. And now he's filed a bonding claim and the court will reject it, Miho said firmly. Because you're not his fated mate. You're mine. Jaiwan's breath caught. Miho. I've known for weeks, Jaiwan. Maybe not consciously, but my alpha knew. Miho's thumb brushed across Jaiwan's bottom lip. The way I feel around you, the way I can't stay away, the way my entire world shifts when you're near, that's not normal. That's a fated bond trying to form. But we haven't, Jaiwan's face heated. We're not bonded yet. No. Because I wanted you to choose me. Not because of biology or fate or instinct. Miho leaned his forehead against Jaiwan's. I wanted you to want me as much as I want you. I do, Jaiwan whispered. God, Miho, I do. But it's too dangerous. Taehyun has money, power, connections. If he convinces the court. He won't. The absolute certainty in Miho's voice should have been comforting. Because I'll fight him. I'll fight everyone. I'll burn down the entire city if that's what it takes to keep you safe. Jaiwan believed him. Which was exactly what terrified him. The next 3 hours were chaos. Seojun arrived with an entire legal team. Jaiwan sat on Miho's couch, wrapped in one of Miho's sweaters that smelled like safety, while lawyers in expensive suits fired questions at him. When did you present as Omega? 13. Have you ever been bonded before? No. Have you ever had any romantic or sexual contact with Han Taehyun? No. Never. I met him for the first time at the gala. Did he touch you? Send you? Exchange any fluids? Jaiwan's face burned. No. Miho, who'd been pacing like a caged animal, suddenly stopped. What does that have to do with anything? One of the lawyers, a sharp-eyed beta woman named Park Minji, looked up from her tablet. If Han Taehyun can prove any biological connection, scent marking, blood exchange, anything that might indicate a bond forming, his claim becomes harder to contest. There's nothing, Jaiwan said firmly. He danced near me once. That's it. Good. Minji made a note. Unfortunately, his legal team is claiming he experienced mate recognition when he saw you at the gala. They're arguing that Omega mate recognition takes precedence over existing relationships. Existing relationships? Jaiwan looked at Miho. But we're not. I mean, we haven't officially. We are now. Miho crossed the room and dropped to one knee in front of Jaiwan, taking his hands. Jaiwan. I know this isn't romantic. I know the timing is terrible. But I need to ask you something, and I need you to answer honestly. Jaiwan's heart hammered. Okay. Do you want to bond with me? The room went silent. Every lawyer stopped typing, stopped moving, stopped breathing. Yes, Jaiwan whispered. But Miho, I'm about to go into heat. My suppressants ran out this morning. If we bond now, people will say you took advantage. I don't care what people say. Miho's grip tightened. I care about what you want. If you want to wait, we wait. If you want to bond now, we bond now. It's your choice. Always your choice. Tears pricked Jaiwan's eyes. What do you want? I want you safe. I want you mine. I want to wake up every morning for the rest of my life and know that you're protected, that no one can ever take you from me. Miho's voice dropped. I want everything, Jaiwan. But only if you want it too. I want it, Jaiwan breathed. I want you. Minji cleared her throat. If you're going to bond, it needs to be before the court hearing, which is scheduled for 3 days from now. 3 days. Jaiwan felt panic rise. But I'll be in heat by then. I can't. You won't have to appear, Minji assured him. If you're bonded to Mr. Kong, his legal team can represent you. Han Taehyun's claim becomes void the moment you're officially mated. Then we do it now, Miho said. Now. Jaiwan squeaked. Not the bonding bite. Not during your preheat. I won't touch you like that until you're clear-headed enough to fully consent. Miho stood, pulling Jaiwan up with him. But we can start the bond. Let my scent into your system. Let your body recognize mine so when your heat comes, it's me you call for. Not him. The possessiveness in Miho's tone made Jaiwan shiver. How do we do that? He asked quietly. Miho's eyes darkened. You stay here. With me. We scent mark each other. Sleep in the same bed. Let our bodies start recognizing the bond. He looked at the lawyers. How long do we have before the heat hits? Based on standard suppressant withdrawal, Minji consulted her tablet, approximately 48 hours. maybe less given the stress. Then everyone out. Miho's alpha voice rang through the penthouse. Now. The lawyers scrambled to leave. Even Seo Jun, who'd seen Miho at his worst, moved quickly toward the door. We'll handle the press, Seo Jun said. Just take care of him, Hyung. When they were alone, Miho turned to Jaiwon. Are you scared? He asked softly. Terrified, Jaiwon admitted. I've been on suppressants since I presented. I don't know what a real heat feels like. What if? Hey. Miho pulled him close. I've got you. Every step of the way. We'll take this slow. Slow? Jaiwon laughed, slightly hysterical. Miho, I'm about to go into heat in your apartment. You're an alpha. How is that slow? Because I'm not going to touch you sexually until you beg me to. Miho's voice was firm. And even then, I'm going to make sure you want it, really want it, not just because your heat is making you desperate. Jaiwon stared at him. You'd really do that? Just take care of me? Even though your alpha instincts will be screaming at you too? Yes. No hesitation. Because you're not just an omega to me, Jaiwon. You're everything. And I'll prove it. The first day was deceptively normal. Miho ordered food, real food, not the instant ramen Jaiwon usually survived on. They ate together on the couch, Miho asking questions about Jaiwon's childhood, his dreams, his favorite books. I always wanted to open a bookstore, Jaiwon admitted, curled into Miho's side. Somewhere cozy. Where people could come and just exist. Read. Drink coffee. Be themselves. Then we'll do it. Miho's arm tightened around him. After this is over, we'll find the perfect space. You can design it however you want. Just like that. Just like that. Miho pressed a kiss to his temple. Anything you want, Jaiwon. Always. That night they slept in the same bed. Miho held Jaiwon from behind, his face buried in Jaiwon's neck, breathing him in. Scent marking without pressure, without demand. Just existing together. Jaiwon had never felt safer. But as dawn broke on the second day, Jaiwon woke up feeling wrong. His skin was too hot. Too sensitive. The sheets felt like sandpaper against his body, and Miho's arm around him was both a comfort and a torture. Miho, he gasped. Miho was awake instantly. What's wrong? I think, Jaiwon whimpered as a wave of heat rolled through him. I think it's starting. Miho cursed softly and pulled away, leaving Jaiwon feeling cold and bereft despite the heat burning through his veins. Okay, we planned for this. Miho grabbed his phone. I'm calling Dr. Yoon. She's an Omega specialist. She'll help. No. Jaiwon grabbed his wrist. Don't leave me. I'm not leaving. I'm right here. Miho cupped his face. But you need medical supervision for your first real heat. Just to make sure you're safe. Dr. Yoon arrived within the hour, a kind-faced beta woman who'd apparently been on retainer for exactly this situation. It's early pre-heat, she confirmed after examining Jaiwon. You have maybe 6 hours before the full heat hits. Mr. Kong, I need to ask, do you intend to help him through it? Yes, Miho said immediately. Even though you're not bonded yet? Especially because we're not bonded yet. Miho's eyes flashed red. I need to prove to him that this isn't just about biology. That I want him. All of him. Not just the Omega. Dr. Yoon smiled slightly. Then you need to understand what you're committing to. An Omega's first real heat after suppressant withdrawal can last 3 to 5 days. It will be intense. Your alpha will be nearly feral. If you bond during the heat, there's no going back. I don't want to go back, Miho said firmly. She looked at Jaiwon. And you? Are you certain about this? Jaiwon looked at Miho, this alpha who'd shown him gentleness when the world showed him only fear. Who'd protected him, cherished him, made him feel seen for the first time in his life. I'm certain, he whispered. Then I'll leave supplies and check in daily. Dr. Yoon stood. But Mr. Kong, if at any point he seems distressed or says no, you stop. Immediately. Heat or not, consent is consent. I understand. After she left, Jaiwon felt the heat rising faster. His body ached. His skin felt like it was burning from the inside out. Miho, he whimpered. I know, baby. I know. Miho gathered him up, carrying him to the bedroom. Let me take care of you. The next hours blurred together. Miho stripped them both down to minimal clothing, boxers only, and pulled Jaiwon into a nest of blankets and pillows on the bed. He scent-marked every inch of Jaiwon's skin that he could reach, wrists, neck, behind his ears, letting his alpha pheromones soothe the desperate Omega instincts. Please, Jaiwon gasped at one point, his body arching against Miho's. Please, I need. Not yet. Miho's voice was strained. Not until you're deep enough in heat to know exactly what you're asking for. I hate you, Jaiwon whimpered. Miho laughed roughly. No you don't. I do. You're cruel and, oh god, another wave hit and Jaiwan felt slick starting to form for the first time in his life. Miho's entire body went rigid. His eyes bled red and a low growl rumbled from his chest. Miho. Jaiwan's voice was small, suddenly afraid. The growl stopped. Miho's eyes cleared slightly and he pulled Jaiwan closer, burying his face in Jaiwan's neck. I'm here, he breathed. I'm here and I'm not going anywhere. You're safe. You're mine. I've got you. Those words became a mantra as the heat fully took hold. Jaiwan lost track of time. Lost track of everything except Miho's scent, Miho's touch, Miho's voice grounding him through the waves of desperate need. At some point, hours? Days? Jaiwan became aware enough to realize he was begging. Please, please, Miho, I need you. Need you inside me. Need. Are you sure? Miho's voice was wrecked. Jaiwan, baby, are you sure this is what you want? Not just the heat talking. It's not the heat. Jaiwan pulled Miho's face to his, their foreheads touching. It's you. It's always been you. From that first day in the library when you looked at me and saw me. Please, Alpha. Please. The use of his title broke something in Miho. Tell me if I hurt you, he growled. Tell me if you want me to stop. Don't stop, Jaiwan breathed. Don't ever stop. What happened next was instinct and need and something deeper. Something that felt like fate finally clicking into place. When Miho finally entered him, Jaiwan cried out not in pain but in relief. This was what his body had been craving, what his Omega had been screaming for. Perfect, Miho groaned against his neck. You're perfect. Made for me. Only me. Only you, Jaiwan agreed, wrapping his legs around Miho's waist. Always only you. They moved together like they'd done this 1,000 times before. Like their bodies recognized each other on some fundamental level. And when Miho's knot finally locked inside him, when they were tied together completely, Jaiwan felt tears streaming down his face. I love you, he gasped. Miho, I love you. Miho's entire body shuddered. He pulled back to look at Jaiwan, his eyes red-rimmed and vulnerable. Say it again. I love you. Again. I love you, I love you, I love you. Miho kissed him desperately, swallowing the words. When he pulled back, his fangs were extended, his alpha at the surface. Can I bond you? He asked roughly. Can I mark you as mine? Forever? Yes. Jaiwan tilted his head, exposing his neck. Please. Make me yours. The bite, when it came, was pleasure and pain and completion all at once. Miho's fangs sank into the bonding gland at the junction of Jaiwan's neck and shoulder, and Jaiwan screamed, not in agony but in ecstasy. Every nerve in his body lit up. He could feel Miho in his mind, his emotions, his soul. Love. Possession. Devotion. Need. Mine, 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 mine. When Miho finally released his neck, licking the wound to help it heal, Jaiwan was sobbing. I can feel you, he gasped. Inside my head. Inside my heart. Miho. I know, baby. I know. Miho kissed him softly. I feel you too. You're mine now. Really mine. Forever. Forever? Jaiwan agreed and passed out. He woke to cool sheets and the smell of food. His body ached in the best way possible. The heat had broken. He could think clearly for the first time in what felt like days. And his neck throbbed with a pleasant pain. He touched the bandage there and smiled. Bonded. He was bonded to Kong Miho. You're awake. Jaiwan looked up to find Miho in the doorway holding a tray of food. He was shirtless, wearing only sweatpants, his hair a mess. He looked exhausted. He looked beautiful. How long was I out? Jaiwan asked. 6 hours. The heat lasted 3 days total. Miho set the tray on the bedside table and climbed onto the bed, pulling Jaiwan into his arms. How do you feel? Sore. Happy. Confused about why you're not in this bed with me. Miho laughed, the sound rough and relieved. I didn't want to crowd you when you woke up. Wasn't sure if you'd regret. No. Jaiwan pulled back to look at him. No regrets. Never. You. Miho, you were perfect. You took care of me. You didn't just take what you wanted. You made sure I was okay. Every step of the way. Because you're not just an Omega to me, Miho repeated the words from days ago. You're Jaiwan. The person who saw past my reputation. Who made me want to be better. Who made me feel human for the first time in years. Jaiwan kissed him softly. I love you. I love you too. Miho's hand came up to cup the back of Jaiwan's neck, his thumb brushing over the bandage. My Omega. My mate. Mine. Yours, Jaiwan agreed. They stayed like that for a long moment, just holding each other. Then Miho's phone buzzed. He grabbed it, read the message, and his expression darkened. What? Jaiwan asked. Seo Jun. The court hearing is tomorrow. Miho's jaw clenched. Taehyun is contesting our bond. He's claiming I forced you during heat, that the bond is invalid. Ice water dumped over Jaiwon's happiness. Can he do that? He's trying. But he won't succeed. Miho stood, suddenly all business. Because you're going to tell the court exactly what happened. That you chose this. Chose me. Chose us. But I can't, panic rose. Miho, I can't go in front of a court. Everyone will see. Everyone already knows, baby. Miho's voice softened. Your secret is out. But that means you don't have to hide anymore. You can stand up and tell your truth. What if they don't believe me? They will. Miho pulled him close. Because I'll be right there with you. Every step of the way. And anyone who tries to hurt you will have to go through me first. The next morning, Jaiwon stood in front of Miho's mirror, dressed in a simple but elegant suit that Seo-jun had somehow procured overnight. The bond mark on his neck was visible. Unmistakable. A claiming bite from an alpha. Proof that he belonged to Kang Miho. Ready? Miho appeared behind him, also in a suit, looking every inch the powerful CEO. No, Jaiwon admitted. But I'll do it anyway. The courthouse was surrounded by press. Cameras flashed as Miho's car pulled up. Security formed a barrier, but Jaiwon could still hear the shouted questions. Mr. Lee, did Mr. Kang force you to bond? Are you really an Omega? Do you have a statement about Han Taehyun's claims? Miho's hand found his, squeezing tight. Ignore them, he murmured. Focus on me. Inside, the courtroom was already packed. Jaiwon saw Taehyun sitting with his legal team, his expression smug. Their eyes met across the room and Taehyun smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. All rise for Judge Kim. Everyone stood as an elderly beta woman entered and took her seat. This is a hearing to determine the validity of competing bond claims on Lee Jaiwon, a registered male Omega. Judge Kim's voice was crisp and professional. Han Taehyun claims mate recognition and has filed for forced separation of the existing bond between Lee Jaiwon and Kang Miho. Mr. Han, your evidence? Taehyun stood and Jaiwon felt Miho tense beside him. Your Honor, I experienced mate recognition the moment I saw Lee Jaiwon at the Seoul Arts Foundation Gala. As documented by Omega biology experts, true mate recognition cannot be denied or overridden by choice. He pulled out a folder. I have testimony from 3 separate specialists confirming that my biological response indicates a fated mate bond. And yet you didn't file a claim until after Mr. Lee was photographed with Mr. Kang, Judge Kim noted dryly. I was trying to approach the situation delicately. Male Omegas are rare and vulnerable. I didn't want to frighten him. Taehyun's voice was smooth, practiced. But when I learned that Kang Miho had taken advantage of him during heat vulnerability... Objection, Minji stood. There's no evidence that Mr. Kang took advantage of anyone. Isn't there? Taehyun turned to look at Jaiwon. Tell me, Jaiwon SSI. When did Mr. Kang learn you were an Omega? The day before my heat, Jaiwon said quietly. And how convenient that he bonded you immediately. During your most vulnerable state. When your judgment was compromised. Taehyun's voice hardened. That's not love, Your Honor. That's opportunistic claiming. The courtroom erupted in whispers. Judge Kim banged her gavel. Order. Mr. Lee, you'll have a chance to testify. But first, she looked at Taehyun. Do you have any proof that Lee Jaiwon is your fated mate? Beyond your own claim? I have biological response documentation. That you experienced attraction. Not proof of a fated bond. Judge Kim's expression was skeptical. Mr. Kang's legal team, your response? Minji stood. Your Honor, Lee Jaiwon will testify that he has never met Han Taehyun before the gala, has no romantic or biological connection to him, and chose freely to bond with Kang Miho. Furthermore, we have Dr. Yoon's testimony that Mr. Kang showed remarkable restraint during Mr. Lee's heat, ensuring full consent before bonding. I'd like to hear from Mr. Lee himself. Judge Kim gestured. Please take the stand. Jaiwon's legs felt like jelly as he walked to the witness stand. Every eye in the courtroom was on him. He could feel the weight of their stares, their judgment, their curiosity. But when he looked at Miho, sitting at the defendant's table with absolute faith in his eyes, Jaiwon found his courage. Mr. Lee, Judge Kim began. Is it true that you are a male Omega who has been hiding your designation? Yes, Your Honor. And you met Han Taehyun at the gala? Yes, for the first time. Did you experience any mate recognition toward him? No. He made me uncomfortable. Scared, actually. Taehyun's lawyer shot to his feet. Objection. That's a subjective. I'll allow it, Judge Kim said. Mr. Lee, explain what you mean. Jaiwon took a breath. His scent was aggressive. Wrong. It made my Omega instincts want to run. The opposite of mate recognition. And when you met Kong Miho? That was different. Jaiwan's eyes found Miho's again. His scent calmed me, made me feel safe. And the more time we spent together, the stronger that feeling became. But you didn't tell him you were an Omega? No. I was afraid. Jaiwan's voice dropped. I've spent my entire life hiding because male Omegas are treated like property. Like things to be claimed and owned instead of people with their own choices. I was terrified that if Miho knew, he'd see me differently. But he found out before your heat? Yes. And you know what he did? Jaiwan's voice strengthened. He told me he'd wait. That my choice mattered more than his alpha instincts. That whatever I was hiding, we'd face it together. And during your heat? He took care of me. Tears pricked Jaiwan's eyes. He made sure I had medical supervision. He didn't touch me sexually until I was coherent enough to beg him to. And even then he asked for consent. Multiple times. Because to him, I'm not just an Omega. I'm Jaiwan. A person who deserves respect and choice and love. The courtroom was silent. And the bond? Judge Kim asked gently. Do you regret it? No. Jaiwan touched his neck. This bond is the best choice I've ever made. Because I chose it. I chose him. Not because of biology or fate or instinct. Because Kong Miho saw me, really saw me, and made me feel like I was worth choosing back. Judge Kim looked at Taehyun. Mr. Han, do you have any evidence that contradicts this testimony? Taehyun stood, his expression cold. Your Honor, with all due respect, Mr. Lee is clearly under the influence of a fresh bond. The euphoria and attachment are well documented in Omega psychology. He's not thinking clearly. I'm thinking perfectly clearly, Jaiwan interrupted. And I'm telling you that I will never be yours. I don't want you. I don't choose you. I choose Miho. Now and always. You don't have a choice. Taehyun's composure finally cracked. You're a male Omega. You need an alpha to protect you, to provide for you. I am an alpha, Miho's voice cut through the courtroom like a blade. He stood, his presence commanding. And I will protect him. Provide for him. Cherish him. For the rest of our lives. You want to challenge that, Taehyun? Then challenge me. Leave Jaiwan out of it. The temperature in the room dropped. Judge Kim banged her gavel. Mr. Kong, sit down. This is a courtroom, not... No. Miho's eyes flashed red. If Han Taehyun wants to claim my Omega, then let him face me for it. An alpha challenge. Traditional law. Winner takes all. The courtroom erupted. Jaiwan felt his blood run cold. An alpha challenge. A fight, brutal, bloody, and potentially fatal. Miho, no, he started. But Taehyun was already smiling. I accept, he said. The gavel came down like a death sentence. The court recognizes the alpha challenge, Judge Kim announced, her voice tight with disapproval. As is traditional law in cases of disputed Omega bonding claims. The challenge will take place in 3 days' time at the Seoul Alpha Arena. Rules are as follows. No weapons, no outside interference, fight continues until one alpha submits or is incapacitated. No. Jaiwan was on his feet before he could stop himself. Your Honor, please, there has to be another way. I'm sorry, Mr. Lee. Once a challenge is issued and accepted, it cannot be withdrawn. Judge Kim looked genuinely sympathetic. The law is ancient, but it still stands. Jaiwan turned to Miho, panic clawing at his chest. You can't do this. Hill, what if he... He won't. Miho's voice was calm, certain. But his eyes were blazing red. I won't let him take you from me. Taehyun stood, straightening his suit with a smug smile. 3 days, Miho. I hope you've kept in fighting shape. Though I suppose it doesn't matter, you've already lost. Even if you win the fight, Jaiwan will see what you really are. A monster who solves everything with violence. Miho's hands clenched into fists, but he didn't rise to the bait. We're done here, he said coldly, taking Jaiwan's hand. Come on, baby. Let's go home. The press was a feeding frenzy outside the courthouse. Mr. Kong, are you confident you'll win? Mr. Lee, how do you feel about 2 alphas fighting over you? Is this romantic or barbaric? Miho's security formed a tight barrier as they pushed through to the car. Once inside, with the doors closed and the world muted, Jaiwan finally broke. You can't do this, he said, his voice shaking. Miho, alpha challenges are brutal. People die. What if? I won't die. Miho pulled him close, tucking Jaiwan's head under his chin. I won't lose you. Not to him. Not to anyone. But what if something goes wrong? What if he fights dirty? What if? Jaiwan. Miho tilted his face up, forcing eye contact. Do you trust me? Yes, but... Then trust me when I say I will win. I have to. Because the alternative, a world where you belong to him, isn't a world I can exist in. Jaiwan's throat closed up with tears. I don't want you to get hurt because of me. You're not just because of anything. You're everything. Miho kissed him softly. And I would fight 1,000 alphas for the right to call you mine. The next 3 days were a nightmare. The media exploded with coverage. Think pieces about modern Omega rights versus traditional alpha law. Polls asking who would win. Betting pools with actual money on the line. Jaiwan felt like he was living in a dystopian reality show where his life was the entertainment. Miho, meanwhile, was terrifyingly focused. He trained. Constantly. Jaiwan would wake up at 5 a.m. to find Miho already in the penthouse gym, his body a weapon of controlled violence. Sweat gleaming on his skin as he hit the punching bag hard enough to make the chains rattle. His eyes distant, calculating. You should eat something, Jaiwan said on the second morning, holding out a protein shake. Miho took it, downing half in one gulp. Thanks, baby. Miho. Jaiwan touched his arm, feeling the tension coiled beneath the skin. Talk to me. You're scaring me. I'm sorry. Miho set down the shake and pulled Jaiwan into his arms, despite being soaked with sweat. I just need to be ready. Taehyun is good. We trained together in college. He knows my fighting style. Then how will you win? A dangerous smile curved Miho's lips. Because he's fighting for pride. I'm fighting for you. There's a difference. That night, Jaiwan couldn't sleep. He lay in bed watching Miho's chest rise and fall, memorizing every detail of his face. What if this was the last peaceful moment they had? What if tomorrow? Stop thinking so loud, Miho mumbled, eyes still closed. I can feel your anxiety through the bond. I can't help it. Miho opened his eyes, rolling to face Jaiwan. Tell me what you're afraid of. Losing you. Jaiwan's voice cracked. I just found you. We just bonded. And now I might. He couldn't finish. You won't lose me. Miho's hand cupped his face. I promise you, Jaiwan. I will come back to you. Always. You can't promise that. Watch me. Miho kissed him, slow and deep and full of everything words couldn't say. When he pulled back, his eyes were serious. I need you to do something for me. Anything. If something goes wrong tomorrow? Miho. Listen. His grip tightened. If something goes wrong, Seojun has instructions. Papers. Everything you need to be protected. The penthouse is yours. My assets are yours. You'll never have to hide again. I don't want your money, Jaiwan said fiercely. I want you. And you'll have me. But just in case, I need to know you'll be okay. That you'll keep living. Keep dreaming. Open that bookstore. Be happy. Tears streamed down Jaiwan's face. I can't be happy without you. Yes, you can. You're the strongest person I know. Miho wiped away his tears. But you won't have to be. Because I'm going to win. And then we're going to have the most boring, domestic, peaceful life imaginable. Just you, me, and whatever books you want to surround us with. Jaiwan laughed through his tears. That sounds perfect. It does, doesn't it? Miho smiled. So I guess I better not lose. They made love that night, slow and tender and desperate. Miho worshipped every inch of Jaiwan's body like he was memorizing it. Like he was trying to imprint himself so deep that nothing could ever separate them. I love you, Jaiwan gasped as Miho moved inside him. I love you so much. I love you too. Miho's voice was wrecked. My Omega. My mate. My everything. When they finally collapsed together, hearts pounding in sync, Jaiwan felt the bond between them pulse with golden warmth. Come back to me, he thought. Through the bond he felt Miho's response. Always. The Seoul Alpha Arena was packed. Jaiwan sat in a private box with Seojun, Yuna, and Dr. Yoon, his hands twisted together so tightly his knuckles were white. Below, the fighting ring looked like something out of ancient Rome. A circular pit surrounded by towering walls, the floor covered in sand. This is barbaric, Yuna muttered. They should have outlawed alpha challenges decades ago. Many countries have, Dr. Yoon said quietly. But Korea maintains the old traditions. For better or worse. Jaiwan couldn't speak, couldn't breathe, could only watch as the announcer's voice boomed through the arena. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a historic alpha challenge. In one corner, Han Taehyun, heir to the Han Industries fortune, trained in mixed martial arts and traditional alpha combat. Taehyun entered the ring, wearing only black shorts, his muscled body on full display. The crowd roared. And in the other corner, Kang Miho, CEO of Kang Enterprises, undefeated in business and untested in the ring. Miho appeared, also in just shorts, and Jaiwan's breath caught. He looked like a god of war. Every muscle defined. His face set in an expression of deadly calm. His eyes already bleeding red. Their gazes met across the distance. Miho pressed his fist to his heart, I'm fighting for you, and Jaiwan felt tears sting his eyes. The rules are simple, the announcer continued. No weapons. No outside interference. Fight until submission or incapacitation. Killing is discouraged but not prohibited. Not prohibited. Jaiwan felt like he was going to be sick. Fighters, take your positions. Miho and Taehyun faced each other across the ring. Even from a distance, Jaiwan could feel the alpha dominance rolling off both of them, clashing in the air like thunder. Begin. The first few seconds were stillness. Both alphas circling, assessing, waiting for an opening. Then Taehyun lunged. He was fast, faster than Jaiwan expected. His fist connected with Miho's jaw with a crack that made the crowd gasp. Miho's head snapped to the side. Blood appeared at the corner of his mouth. But he didn't go down. He turned back slowly, wiping the blood away with his thumb. And smiled. That the best you've got? His voice carried through the arena. Taehyun snarled and attacked again. What followed was brutal. They fought like animals, all alpha instinct and violence. Punches that would have killed a normal human. Kicks that cracked ribs. Grappling holds that bent bones to breaking points. Jaiwan watched in horror as Miho took hit after hit, his beautiful face swelling, blood streaming from his nose. He's losing, Yuna whispered. No, Seojun said tightly. He's learning. Watch. And he was right. Miho was letting Taehyun tire himself out, studying his patterns, his tells. Every hit Miho took, he was gathering information, waiting for his moment. It came in the third round. Taehyun overextended on a punch. For just a fraction of a second, his guard dropped. Miho moved. It was so fast Jaiwan almost missed it. One moment Taehyun was attacking. The next, he was on his back in the sand, Miho's hand around his throat. Yield, Miho growled. Never, Taehyun spat blood. I'll kill you before I let you keep him. He didn't finish. Miho's free hand moved, striking 3 precise points on Taehyun's body. Pressure points that made his opponent's body seize. I said yield. Miho's voice was deadly quiet. Or I'll make you. For a moment, Jaiwan thought Taehyun would refuse. Thought this would end in death. Then Taehyun's hand slapped the sand. Once, twice, 3 times. Submission. The arena exploded with noise. Kang Miho wins, the announcer shouted. The bond between Kang Miho and Lee Jaiwan is recognized and protected by alpha law. Jaiwan was already moving, racing down the stairs toward the ring. Security tried to stop him but Seojun cleared the way, and then Jaiwan was climbing into the pit, running across the sand to where Miho stood. Miho. Miho turned, and despite the blood and bruises, his face transformed into pure joy. He caught Jaiwan in his arms, lifting him off his feet and spinning him once before setting him down carefully. I told you, Miho said, cupping Jaiwan's face with hands that were split and bleeding. I told you I'd come back to you. You're hurt, Jaiwan sobbed, touching his face gently. You're bleeding? I don't care. Miho kissed him, not caring that the entire arena was watching, that cameras were flashing, that the world was seeing. I don't care about anything except this. Us. Jaiwan kissed him back desperately, tasting blood and sweat and victory. When they finally pulled apart, Miho pressed his forehead to Jaiwan's. It's over, he breathed. You're safe. You're mine. And no one can ever take you away. Jaiwan couldn't speak, couldn't breathe, could only watch as the announcer's voice boomed through the arena. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a historic alpha challenge. In one corner, Han Taehyun, heir to the Han Industries fortune, trained in mixed martial arts and traditional alpha combat. Taehyun entered the ring, wearing only black shorts, his muscled body on full display. The crowd roared. And in the other corner, Kang Miho, CEO of Kang Enterprises, undefeated in business and untested in the ring. Miho appeared, also in just shorts, and Jaiwan's breath caught. He looked like a god of war. Every muscle defined. His face set in an expression of deadly calm. His eyes already bleeding red. Their gazes met across the distance. Miho pressed his fist to his heart. I'm fighting for you, and Jaiwan felt tears sting his eyes. The rules are simple, the announcer continued. No weapons. No outside interference. Fight until submission or incapacitation. Killing is discouraged but not prohibited. Not prohibited. Jaiwan felt like he was going to be sick. Fighters, take your positions. Miho and Taehyun faced each other across the ring. Even from a distance, Jaiwan could feel the alpha dominance rolling off both of them, clashing in the air like thunder. Begin. The first few seconds were stillness. Both alphas circling, assessing, waiting for an opening. Then Taehyun lunged. He was fast, faster than Jaiwan expected. His fist connected with Miho's jaw with a crack that made the crowd gasp. Miho's head snapped to the side. Blood appeared at the corner of his mouth, but he didn't go down. He turned back slowly, wiping the blood away with his thumb, and smiled. That the best you've got? His voice carried through the arena. Taehyun snarled and attacked again. What followed was brutal. They fought like animals, all alpha instinct and violence. Punches that would have killed a normal human. Kicks that cracked ribs. Grappling holds that bent bones to breaking points. Jaewon watched in horror as Miho took hit after hit, his beautiful face swelling, blood streaming from his nose. He's losing, Yuna whispered. No, Seojun said tightly. He's learning. Watch. And he was right. Miho was letting Taehyun tire himself out, studying his patterns, his tells. Every hit Miho took, he was gathering information, waiting for his moment. It came in the third round. Taehyun overextended on a punch. For just a fraction of a second, his guard dropped. Miho moved. It was so fast Jaewon almost missed it. One moment Taehyun was attacking. The next he was on his back in the sand, Miho's hand around his throat. Yield, Miho growled. Never, Taehyun spat blood. I'll kill you before I let you keep him. He didn't finish. Miho's free hand moved, striking 3 precise points on Taehyun's body. Pressure points that made his opponent's body seize. I said yield. Miho's voice was deadly quiet. Or I'll make you. For a moment, Jaewon thought Taehyun would refuse. Thought this would end in death. Then Taehyun's hand slapped the sand. Once, twice, 3 times. Submission. The arena exploded with noise. Kang Miho wins, the announcer shouted. The bond between Kang Miho and Lee Jaewon is recognized and protected by Alpha Law. Jaewon was already moving, racing down the stairs toward the ring. Security tried to stop him, but Seojun cleared the way, and then Jaewon was climbing into the pit, running across the sand to where Miho stood. Miho. Miho turned, and despite the blood and bruises, his face transformed into pure joy. He caught Jaewon in his arms, lifting him off his feet and spinning him once before setting him down carefully. I told you, Miho said, cupping Jaewon's face with hands that were split and bleeding. I told you I'd come back to you. You're hurt, Jaewon sobbed, touching his face gently. You're bleeding? I don't care. Miho kissed him, not caring that the entire arena was watching, that cameras were flashing, that the world was seeing. I don't care about anything except this. Us. Jaewon kissed him back desperately, tasting blood and sweat and victory. When they finally pulled apart, Miho pressed his forehead to Jaewon's. It's over, he breathed. You're safe. You're mine. And no one can ever take you away. The grand opening of Haven Books was everything Jaewon had dreamed of and more. People packed the aisles, browsing shelves organized by genre and mood. The cafe counter was 3 deep with customers. Soft music played overhead. And everywhere, people looked happy. Safe. Like they'd found something they'd been searching for. Jaewon stood behind the register, ringing up purchases with a smile that hadn't left his face all day. Thank you for coming, he told each customer. Please come back soon. I will, a young person said shyly. They wore a pronoun pin and looked nervous. I've never. There aren't many places where people like me feel welcome. This is nice. This is your space too, Jaewon said gently. Always. After they left, Jaewon felt arms wrap around his waist from behind. You're doing amazing, Miho murmured in his ear. Says the man who bought out half the pastry inventory for the opening. I wanted to support local business. You own the building. Exactly. Very local. Miho kissed his neck, right over the faded bond mark. I'm so proud of you. Jaewon turned in his arms, not caring that they were in full view of customers. I couldn't have done this without you. Yes, you could have. But I'm glad you didn't have to. Miho's eyes were soft. This place is going to help so many people, Jaewon. Just like you helped me. We helped each other. Yeah. Miho smiled. We did. Mr. Lee? A teenager approached hesitantly. I just wanted to say, thank you. For opening this store. For showing people like me that we can be ourselves. That we don't have to hide. Jaewon's throat tightened. You never have to hide who you are. Not here. Not anywhere. After the teenager left, Miho held him a little tighter. You okay? He asked. Perfect, Jaewon whispered. Everything is perfect. And it was. Outside, the sun was setting over Seoul, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. Inside Haven Books, people found stories and community and acceptance. And in each other's arms, Jaewon and Miho found home. The monster and the mouse. The alpha and the omega. 2 people who'd been hiding from the world until they found each other. Now they were hiding no more. Now they were just living. Together. Always.